Hello everyone, this is Kiro Show here. This is going to be my 6th video today, so I'm going to try and make it my final one for this what if. Because I was hoping I can get this what if done today, but it's just that with a lot of problems with my recording, I've had to split every section of my what ifs into 6-minute parts and cut them together, which has been very annoying. Now then, whenever we last left off, Deku had actually gotten a lot of the villains to surrender. Mr. Compressed did not get very injured. Muscular still got his entire life view entirely just thrown into the wind. I think I've always dismembered Muscular in his what ifs. I'm pretty sure I've at least taken away one of his arms. Now then, after that, now then, after that, let us cut to All Might. All Might is asking Midoriya if he would accompany him to actually go to the villain's base. And before I forget, at this point in the story, Deku's hair would actually be similar to Kanon, but he would just have an undercut. Well, somewhat of an undercut, or at least like a Matt Murdock hairstyle, like the Daredevil Deku. At least like a Superman style hair, where it's just around that length, if not a little bit longer. Now then, he's essentially almost like Kanon Deku, but with shorter hair. Now then, Deku is being told by All Might that he would like to be accompanied to go fight the villains, and all that jazz. And this is whenever All Might would say that not only that, but it would be very important that Hatsume would accompany them. Deku is arguing that Mei needs to come because she's got a very tactitious mind and is actually very, very good at strategies and actually helping him fight. All Might's telling Deku no, and they're both arguing, and they're going to keep going back and forth about it, and Deku would eventually agree with All Might that she cannot come to the battlefield after 30 minutes of arguing. Now then, after that, this is whenever they would cut to later in the day, and this is at the villain's hideout. Now, you all know my joke here about Shigaraki and pineapple pizza. This time, Deku would bust through the window and actually come rolling in with his goggles. He would immediately just get in, and he's asking them if they're looking for a cleaning man or a cleanup crew. That if they're looking to turn themselves in. Everyone's looking at Deku puzzlingly. Shigaraki would walk into the room. He walks in with his pizza and his orange juice. He's about to sit down and eat and disgust everybody in the room because this is a banana, peas, and mayo pizza. Yes, I'm going that far. He is that bad. And as soon as Deku would see this, he would immediately just smash Shigaraki's head, clean off his skull, and take it to the pro hero, saying that he was too dangerous to be kept alive. All Might would then take it bowling on Sundays like he would usually do. And I'm just kidding. That is not how that would go. I am tired and I want to cry. Anyways, I'm sorry everyone. I am a bit too tired today. I woke up, started recording, and I've just been recording. I've just been recording for most of my day to try and get this what if done and over with, because I was hoping I can get it all out today. and actually start on my 10 quirks. Now then, back to that. Deku would immediately come through the window, and he would have been able to take out Dobby's, not in this version. Here's Mr. Compress, Shigaraki, and Kurogiri, along with Toga. I think she got. I left Toga out of the last part. May would have taken down Toga fairly easily. And from googling it, there's a lot of art of Toga and May. May has a wrench to Toga's throat. Toga has a knife to hers. They're both equally covered in the same amount of blood. It's actually pretty cool looking. Now then, after that, this is whenever Deku would have done that. Kamara Woods would have popped in. Yeah. Along with that one guy whose quirk is basically to be like a fiber. But anyways, after that, this is whenever Shigaraki would get tied up along with Kurogiri. The whole thing with Shigaraki being teleported away would happen. All Might would immediately start making his way to the factory where the other tracking device is. And this is whenever they would immediately arrive. Best Genius just got taken out. All for One is there on the scene. And Deku and All Might are there. And All Might has been telling Deku that this is going to be their most dangerous battle yet. And if he falls during the battle, then that means that Deku will have to take his place. Now, as soon as Deku would hear that, he would have taken it very seriously and not very lightly. So he would immediately start fighting with All Might, and they're both throwing as much punches as they can. They're both doing that. Deku's at full cowling at 100%, and he's actually taking on All for One, while All Might's trying to also evacuate civilians. And it would get to the point where All for One would try using his All Might killing quirks to step in. But this is whenever a giant robot would actually intervene by kicking All for One's arm to the ground. Now then, this was actually May's latest gift from that guy who spent 20 years developing gear. This is what May calls a machine, or a force of nature, or the epitome of anything. This is something she got gifted to by that guy who Deku destroyed his mech in less than a minute. Now then. Okay, thank God. I thought the recording stopped again. She would tell Shigaraki that they are not the only ones on the battlefield, and she is here too. And that he needs to take her seriously. She would then immediately create whips full of electricity and actually start whipping them around. All for One would have been able to grab one of these whips, and he would have been electrocuted. Now then, this is whenever Deku would have told her that she shouldn't have come here, and she would immediately yell at Deku that he's not the boss of her, and he shouldn't have kept this a secret from her. Now then, after that, this is whenever they are fighting with All for One, and All for One is getting to the point where he has worn down All Might, and All Might's about to deflate. Deku would have gotten in the way, actually taking the blow, but this would not have meant a lot because he would have just been sent flying. Now, this is whenever May would have actually tried stepping in to actually fight with All for One. She's using different flamethrowers, missile systems, and a lot of different types of plasma weapons that this thing came equipped with. Now, as she's doing that, this is whenever All for One would just say that that is a child's toy compared to a quirk, and it is not the same. All for One would then begin ripping off parts of the gear and a lot of the metal from this thing. He would have ripped off the arm piece right here, And this is whenever May would have tried attacking All For One with her left arm, and she would have just fired the machine gun straight in All For One's face. But he would have had a quirk that would... I don't know why he wouldn't have hardening quirks. Those would be very useful, especially since you got the top of your skull blown off. He would have gotten a hardening quirk that actually hardens his body, and this is whenever she would realize that that's not going to work at all, and she needs a bigger gun. She would then deploy a cannon from her shoulder. And as soon as this thing comes out, All For One would have immediately stabbed a hole through the forehead of this robot and rip it apart. This thing would explode as Deku watches the horror. The horror. The horror. That word did not want to be pronounced right. The horror of the situation. Now, Deku, he would just drop to his knees, not knowing what to say. Because the girl he loved, and the girl he spent most of his time with, most of his days with, every single day for the last year, just is gone. He doesn't know how to feel. This is whenever he would take off his goggles, or he would take off his goggles because his eyes won't stop watering and he won't stop crying. All For One is just telling Deku that it's useless. And that if he's not going to be... Well, if he was going to be the number one hero, then why would he have loved ones anyway? Why would you try and have an emotional connection whenever villains could just abuse that and break you so easily? Now, this is whenever All For One would try throwing a punch at Deku, and Deku would immediately grab his arm, and his eyes would begin glowing blue. Now, Deku's essentially refined, or not refined, but he's lost control of his power because of his emotional state. This is whenever he would immediately just start... His body is bursting with blue energy, and he just starts screaming at All For One's face. He would then just pull off his limbs, piece by piece, as much as he can. He's ripping out muscle fibers. He's ripping off the bones to these things. He then uses the blades on his arm that he has embedded in his gauntlets to just start slashing through All For One like a piece of like Swiss cheese. He just starts punching as much as he can, and he won't stop screaming. Now, everyone knows where this battle is taking place because they can just hear the screams and see the glow. It is monstrous and it's barbaric. You see crowds that were previously just cheering on that this kid is fighting the villain, as it would just... Everyone's just stopping because it just got to the point of barbarity where Deku, he's already killed All For One, but he's broken his gauntlets and he's broken his hands. Now, because of this, Deku, he's just punching at a corpse. A pile of goop. He's just shedding tears as he just keeps punching over and over again. Shockwave after shockwave being set off for no reason. He's left there crying. All Might would come up to comfort Deku, saying that it's not his fault. That heroes know what they're doing. Deku would then scream at All Might that she didn't even know what she was doing. He dragged her into this She was supposed to be in the support course. And now look what happened. Deku doesn't know how to feel about this. He just feels broken. That is whenever he would hear a voice on the intercom that's just trying to finally patch through, telling him that she's okay. Whenever she was gifted this, UA didn't want her to take it out immediately towards All For One in the suit because they know how unreliable and unpredictable All For One was. So, she essentially was unmanned piloting it. Deku, he would immediately hear her voice and start running. Now, he's just trying to find where she is. And she would immediately appear out of what looks like an old truck, and it would just show the console she was on. Deku would immediately just hug her and kiss her, saying that he doesn't know what he would do if he ever lost you. And she's taken aback by this because Deku's never showed this much emotion or this much genuine concern for someone. And he's just telling her that he thought he lost her and he thought she died. Now then, this is whenever All Might's secret got revealed, but All For One, yeah, you already know what's going on. Deku thought he beat him to death, but in the world of My Hero Academia, any quirk can exist. All For One has an immortality quirk, which is basically 10 regeneration quirks that mutated together. Now, just because he's immortal doesn't mean he still can't feel pain or die. But he was constantly regenerating, and his body kept trying to keep him alive as he was getting cut apart. So these would only keep certain things that the body needs to survive alive, like the organs and the brain. But the rest of the body, that's a bit more difficult, because they would only regen after death. So that would mean All For One's real face would be revealed very early on in the story, and we would get to see him in Tartarus prison, interact with Shigaraki and Stain. Now then, Deku is also... People were saying that Deku should go to jail because of what he did, but UA is arguing that if it had not been for that robot being unpiloted, a student would have died, and All For One was perfectly willing to kill a young person or a child. So they can't really take Deku to jail for losing control of what he thought was a lost loved one. Now, the whole special move training would go somewhat different. Deku's essentially trying to use a spiritual burst, and he's essentially trying to concentrate it into balls of energy in his hand. And whenever that happens, these look like blue fire, but they're not. Okay, I was gonna say like he can throw like balls of energy or just shock balls, but that'd be silly. He could throw he can send small bursts of energy, so like small shockwaves out of his arms in any direction with this energy. So he essentially charges up his fingers and he uses his knuckle and he pops it out forward. So he brings his knuckle in, puts his 4 fours underneath it, and he charges up One For All on his thumb, and he just flicks his finger out, sending the shockwave forward. Now then, after that, Deku learned his special move. He goes to the provisional hero license. The interaction with Toga does not happen, and Deku and Mei are returning to the garage to continue another late night fender bender. But this time, Deku's dad would walk into the garage to try and see if they're actually home, because it's awfully quiet. He would then see as Deku and Mei are laying on the couch, essentially sleeping in each other's arms, and he would just put a blanket on them and walk back inside. Now then, I hope you guys have enjoyed this what if, and I am happy that I actually found a way to bring it off on a fairly undark ending. And yeah, I was actually planning on bringing May into the actual battle and actually having her lose an arm in the process and get a metal one. But that would be that would mean she was actually in the mech, and All For One wouldn't hesitate, especially showing that technology can never be better than quirk, and he would have immediately tore it apart. And there was no way May could get away for All For One aside from trying to detonate that thing, and even then that probably wouldn't kill All For One, but it would probably just piss him off. Now, I was going to do that, but May would have died, and I didn't really want to kill her off or anything in the what if, because she's actually one of my favorite characters that isn't in Class 1A at all, and I don't understand why people don't like. Literally, Horikoshi said one of the reasons why the girl with green hair, Kaminari, goes against within the sports festival. One of the reasons why she isn't in 1A is because her hair is too hard to draw. That's literally it. Along with the brainwashed quirk guy being not hero material, but some little pervert what Sticky Balls is. Along with the guy who can copy quirks. Now, that guy, he is very arrogant, so I'm glad he's not in 1A. Unless I do a what if where I redeem his stupid character. Yeah, not happening anytime soon. Actually, no, not happening. Anyway, guys. Alright. I thought that did not record, and I was about to bash my head into the wall. Because I've been having to cut together. I had to cut together an 8-minute part with a 2-minute, a 5-minute, a 6-minute, and a 30-second part. Because one thing I said at the end of the video did not want to get recorded, and it was an extra detail that came into play later. That took me about a fairly good amount of editing to actually figure out, because I had to watch through those parts, figure out which ones went where, because this little thing wants to keep destroying my recording to where I have to repair them, and it's annoying. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and peace out.